Well, hello and welcome to my latest project. And yes, you've guessed it, we are talking about dust. I don't know how to put these filters on right, by the way. Anyway, I wanted to make a video about dust, and more to the point, how to deal with it in the workshop. There are three types of dust that I care about. And I'm not talking about swarf that you get when you're milling or lathing or drilling metals. That doesn't matter, you can sweep that away with a bit of care. I'm talking about the stuff that comes off metals and wood when you sand them, when you grind them, when you saw them at high speed, etc., etc. So these are the ones that cause a problem in the workshop, and more importantly, a problem for your health, and that's what this is really about. Now, I've got a reasonably big workshop. I think it's about 80 cubic meters, and although I do my best with, I will show you what I've done to help with some of the machines, there is always a very fine film of dust everywhere. Now, I also happen to know that I'm breathing this stuff in. Clearly, when I'm working on a machine, I'm wearing a mask, and most of my machines have some form of dust extraction. But still, I don't live in my mask. I can't bear it, it's claustrophobic. I need to be freer than that, and there's only one window in this place that opens. So what happens is I know that I'm breathing this stuff in, and now it's starting to bother me because I'm getting older. I know that these things can damage your lungs, so I finally decided to buy an air filter, and this is the key of what this video is about. Now let's have a quick look at some of the stuff that I do, and first of all I'd like to look at some of the offending machines that are the worst in the workshop. So let's look at those first. So definitely at the lower end of the nightmare scale, we've got the wood bandsaw. It does kick up a hell of a lot of dust, but I also have installed a... Now without doubt, the next one up is the table saw. Now again, with my wood chip extractor and dust extractor, I put a hood inside the bag under here, which does collect a hell of a lot of the stuff, but still it kicks up a hell of a lot of dust. And when you come back to the workshop, let's say 20-30 minutes after, there is a film of wood dust all over the workshop, even though the dust extraction is going. Now we are really getting to the worst of the good, the bad and the ugly. My 2-inch belt sander grinder. This thing kicks up a nightmare of dust, and it's very difficult to control it. When I'm doing wood, again, I've got a vacuum extractor that goes into it, but I can't use that when I'm doing knife blades, for the simple reason that once it caught fire, you have to get very specialized equipment to catch the burning piece of steel that fly out. So at the moment what I've done is I've got a hood that goes into a disgusting bucket of sludge, and that seems to catch a lot of it, but you get a lot of airborne mess. But very close behind the belt grinder, and probably the champion, is the polisher. Absolutely terrifying amounts of dust that fly up. I'm wearing overalls and a face guard, and after a session everything is covered in very fine, nasty polish and dust. It's probably not quite as serious in my workshop as the belt grinder, because I tend to use the belt grinder for much longer periods of time than the polisher. The polisher tends to come out at the end when I finished a piece rather throughout the process, but my God, it's nasty. So I did a lot of research and I looked at lots of different solutions, including sort of vents all of inducting everywhere, but it's not practical here. So the best solution I've come up with really is this machine. It's an Axminster air filter system. It's model AC15AFS. It's the smaller of the two machines that Axminster offers. The bigger one was really far too big and is for a much bigger workshop. This seems to be right for this size workshop, and indeed anything smaller. So what I thought I'd do is I would unbox it have a look at it, show it to you, and then I will look at how I'm going to install it and finally see if I like the results. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. I bought this with my own money, regretfully. I didn't want to spend the money. But anyway, here we go. Well, first sight, fairly adequately packed. Instruction manual, battery I assume for the remote control, and this is going to have to be on the ground. Lead, and here we have various fixings if you want to, and chains actually, which is really useful if you want to fix it to the into the ceiling, which I can't. Okay, so just a few details which might be useful. You can get this on the Axminster website. You'll see it's an Axminster craft. That's a lot of their stuff is divided between craft tools and trade tools, which obviously this is the home workshop as opposed to the you know, the trade professional-ish equipment they sell. The first things you notice is that there is a 1 hour, 2 hour and 4 hour timer, so you can have it on for those periods of time and leave it alone. It will automatically switch off after those times, and you have high, medium and low filtration. I believe that for a size, so if I didn't mention it before, my workshop is 80 cubic meters approximately, and I believe that high is going to be the right setting for that, because to understand what's going on is I'll turn it around in a minute and you'll see the filters at the back, but basically the blower is blowing this way, and the idea is that it circulates the air around the workshop and it sucks it in there, blows it out there. So the harder the higher the mode that you've got it on, the more power is being blown. This is I love this. This is an incredibly old-fashioned remote control. You've got to pull out an aerial. I don't think I've seen that for, whoa, I don't know. But anyway, that's rather fun. Okay, so maybe we should look at the back. So this is the first filter, the outer filter, which I believe stops dust from about 8 micron. And inside there is another carbon filter which stops dust to about 1 micron. Now, I have heard that these get dirty pretty quickly. You can vacuum them, you can air blow them, or, you know, with your compressor, but eventually that won't work anymore. So that's not the cheapest thing. I think they're about 25 quid each for the filters, and you will need to replace them depending on how heavy a workload you put on it. But we'll look at that. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video so that we can see how that goes. Okay, I plugged it in. Let's turn it on. I don't know how much you can hear that, but it's certainly very quiet at low. It's blowing quite significantly. It's not bad. So far, so good. Let's put it to medium. Pretty good. Again, the noise is really completely unacceptable. I mean, I've got no problem with that. So let's chuck it on high. Now that's really blowing. I can give you an idea using their invoice. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty strong. So far so good. All right, it's blowing. I'm really impressed with the noise level. It's far lower than I expected. And also the other thing that I'm really pleased about is online I've seen some reviews of other brands of these things, which are really noisy. There's a rattle apparently, and because it's been damaged in transit or whatever, and the centrifugal fan vibrates. This is clearly undamaged. It's obviously working very smoothly at the moment. But let's play with this. Hang on a sec. Whoa! Okay. Let's try BBC 1. No, that's BBC 2. BBC 1. 1 hour timer, 2 hour timer, 4 hour timer. Off. Right, so far so good with the walkie-talkie. I seem to be getting all the channels I want. Now, the dimensions of this machine. It is length 505 millimeter, width 430 millimeter, height 260 millimeter, and it has a weight of 15 kilos. It also advertises here the room volume up to 155 cubic meters. Now that's not bad. This is a big room and it is 80 cubic meters, so I should be fine. I also know that some people tend to double these up. They're not hugely expensive. I mean, I think this was approximately £160. I really can't remember. It's not cheap, but again, it's not crazy expensive. I mean, some of these things go for, you know, £1,000. Now, the next question is, where am I going to put it? My first idea was to clear a lot of that junk that's up there and put it up there. It's probably about 2 meters, 2 and a bit meters high. And I imagine that the air would kind of circulate across here like this. But the problem with that is that I'm going to lose a lot of really useful storage space, which I really don't want to do. So then came plan 2. So plan 2 was, if you remember from one of my previous videos, I built this thing here to make a fume extractor for when I weld, mainly using arc welding. And this is what I use, the welding table. So my idea was, well, I don't do that much arc welding, and if I do arc welding, I tend to do it outside. So I was thinking of taking the motor out and put it on here. It actually would fit beautifully. But then why lose something that's actually really useful that I've spent a lot of time making? So then came plan 3. So plan 3 is to build exactly the same platform as I just showed you there for my fume extractor, and put it here instead. And I can always lower this a little bit. I can, you know, I'll jig everything around. I don't need to have my hand saws up there. And I would have it there, the same sort of cantilevered, not cantilever, what is suspended system here, and have it here. Now, the advantage of having it over the welding table is that it's much closer to the machinery that creates a lot of dust. But I think that if it circulates, this should work quite well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build another platform like I did for the fume extractor and put it up here. So I measured everything out, and the ideal size for this contraption will be 60 centimeters by 50 centimeters. I've tried it with that on it. It fits perfectly. And most importantly, there's enough space at the edges for the cables to go up, the support cables to go up without interfering with the machine. On my air extractor, my fume extractor, I made a frame out of mild steel box section, and that box section was something I had left over from another project, and it was only 1.5 mil thick. That turned out to be quite expensive to source, and so the stuff I had to get was just simple hot rolled mild steel. This is 2 mil thick, so it's heavier. And I was worried about that, whether, you know, does it need that? Do I even need it? But actually, it's really not bad at all. It's much lighter than I thought. So I think that will work well. The other thing I thought of doing was to double this up. Actually, this is 9 mil. I could double it up to 18 mil. But funny enough, that sort of gets quite heavy too. And I don't know, I'm scared of warping and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start welding these together and then marking where I'm going to fix them into the board. Right, so there's the wood cut, there's the frame welded. Now I didn't film the welding for one very specific reason. I didn't feel that you needed to be subjected to the horror that is my welding, and I rest my case. That doesn't matter, I'll fix that. And also because it's really very basic stuff. If you can weld, you can do this. If you can't weld, you need to ask somebody to help you do it, maybe. So this is the basic frame. I'm now going to, and again, I'm going to do this off camera. If you want more details, I'll put a marker to the video of me making my fume extractor, which is basically exactly the same concept. I'm going to drill some holes, 2 here, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, but also 2 through here, which is going to screw into the wall, if that makes sense. Now, you eagle-eyed fellas and ladies out there will probably have noticed that I'd forgotten to drill into the side of the frame, into this bit here, which I said I was going to do, and you're quite right. And there is a reason for that, and that reason is that I'm clearly becoming quite elderly and I totally forgot to do it, and that is the only reason. Anyway, still I'm going to do it now, and this is how it's going to work. These fantastic threaded inserts are going to screw into the chipboard on the wall, and then these M6 screws are going to bolt that into there. These are absolutely fantastic, and I've got to confess I'm a bit embarrassed about this, but I never knew about them until my friend Dimitri's, Jimmy's Canal fame, was here in my workshop, and he said, why don't you use these for another job? And what a revelation they are. So that's the next job. I'm going to drill the holes into the frame, drill those in the right place in the wall, and then we're really kind of getting there. The next job I'll have to do is, if this remains in focus, is to attach the suspenders for the cable that's going to hold it up into the wall. So little jobs to do. Let's go. So I quickly wanted to show you the system that I'm using to tether this to the wall and support the weight of the machine. These are incredibly clever. I think they're designed for hanging heavy mirrors, etc. I'm just going to show you how they work because they often don't have instruction manuals. This is the wall attachment, and you can fix those without any wires in, which is very clever. You just screw them into the wall, then you push down on this thing, slide the wire in, and that's it. It's solid. Very clever. Likewise, this is the bit that's going to attach to the hook. Push it in. It's going to come out here, and you basically tighten it so that it fits exactly the way you want. Then you screw this down like this, and that's it. And then you just cut this end off. Very simple, very clever, very strong. I think they come in different weight bearing designs, but I think it's something around 75 kilos. So we're really very safe. So there it is. Little things to fix. I managed to break this thing. It came apart and all the little ball bearings came out, so I'm going to get another one of these, but it's being very ably supported on this side, so I'm quite comfortable with that. It's really not that heavy. It's about 15 kilos. And I'm having it facing that way, so the air's coming in this way because this is the area that's going to make the most dust in my workshop, and then it'll blow this way around the room, hopefully. Anyway, it's time to test it. There it goes. That's on high at the moment. So anyway, let's see. Thanks so much for watching so far. I realized it's very difficult to do a review of this until I've used it for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this video part 1, which is kind of setting up and the installation. And I will make a follow-up when I've ground some steel, sawn some wood, and so that I can give you a sense of how the machine's working. I'm going to be completely honest with you. At this stage, I'm looking at that machine up on my wall, and I find it very hard to believe that it can filter the air in a room this size. It might be much better in a small garage, but anyway, that's totally unfair because I haven't tested. I've only just installed it. So I'll do a second part of this video very soon and let you know what my final verdict is. Anyway, thanks so much for watching so far, and see you soon.